welcome back to Lifers TLC. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jay.
And we are so excited tonight because we have another Jay on with us today. Go ahead and say hi, Jay. And Jay, you are a spouse of a person who we've already had on, Erin's husband, Jay. And so he is here to share his perspective as a living donor's husband and what the journey has been like for him. So we are so excited to have you here with us tonight.
Welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I really do feel honored to have this opportunity to share our experience from my perspective. And I'm just really hopeful that this does help other folks who may want to consider doing such an amazing thing.
Awesome. So we've known from Erin's, but in case somebody hasn't seen Erin's story yet, can you tell us just a little bit of background about the kind of donation that she did?
Sure. Yeah. So watch it. By the way, Erin's story is amazing. The kind of the background on Erin's story is that she has always had a high level of awareness for other people and what other people's needs are, spoken and unspoken, not just in a direct way, but in a more global sense. And she's always had that sort of perspective for outreach for what's right and what's good. And so this is something that kind of built up in her over a period of time from knowing some people who have had some kidney disease issues, and from her own grandfather who ended up on dialysis for a short period of time before he passed, and from some friends who have a young son who has some kidney issues, who thankfully at this time doesn't need a transplant, but may one day. And so those things brought awareness to this problem and in our life, and especially for her. And so as the story kind of built, there was an opportunity that came along for Steve to need a kidney, and Erin just felt really compelled to do that. And so that was difficult because we had never met Steve. It's not like he's a friend of ours or even a friend of our family. He's a friend of he's the father of our pastor. And so he's now a friend of ours, and what a blessing that's been. But, through that process, we became kind of connected, but prior to the process, he was really a stranger to us. And so that didn't matter to Erin. What mattered was that there was a need and that she felt that she could fulfill that need. And so it sounds really simple, but it was really a difficult decision to make. I think had it been a family member or, somebody that we felt connected to or closer to, it would have been easier in some ways. But God doesn't call us to do the easy, and he did call Erin to do the easy. So
you mentioned that Erin, she always is trying to help people. Was donation, had the subject of donation of a kidney ever come up before you guys heard about Steve, or was it kind of something that she just brought up one day and was like, hey, this is what's going on my mind?
Well, I mean, it had come up before in the past in terms of, if something was needed with our friend's child Jace, or with, somebody that we knew that we were close to, or that, how did we feel about that? And I think we all kind of felt like we would get tested, we would find out if we were a match, and we would go forward. And that's just what we would do. Sort of donating to somebody we didn't know wasn't anything that kind of was even it wasn't on my mind at all. And it was probably on the back burner for Erin. And so there was a meeting at church, and they had kind of folks that were supposed to come and talk about the possibility and what that's like for living donors to donate. And she said, well, I'm just going to go to this meeting and hear what they have to say. And I don't want to say it was low attended, but I don't think you could have any fewer people and call it a meeting. So there were only a couple of folks there. And typical to Erin's fashion, she was all there to get educated, to learn about it, to understand what it was, and to know about whether this was the right opportunity or something in the future, but to kind of get information and gather and research and know. And so that's how that kind of came about for her. And then at some point she's kind of said, yeah, I think I could do this for somebody. And it wasn't, we still weren't sure that this was the right thing or that this was exactly what it was, but that's how it kind of got started. That's how a conversation got started of, yeah, I could do this for somebody, and even somebody that we potentially don't know. And I kind of brushed it off. I thought like, yeah, sure, that's great. That's really good. I'm glad that you could do that. Like, that's amazing. Maybe you could do that someday, right? Well, someday came a lot faster than I kind of wanted to admit.
What were some of the things that made you feel more at ease about, or were you apprehensive all the way through the process? Or what was
I like the way you stated that question, because you said, what was it that made you feel at ease? And I was about to answer nothing.
yeah.
Nothing made me feel at ease. It's one of those things where, I think at one point I just said to her, well, why don't I get tested too? We'll see if I'm a match. And she's like, that's not how it works. They test one person at a time. They move forward with the process. I just felt like, man, with these four little kids, they like, everything depends on her, and she means the world to all of us. And I just, I can't imagine that without that love and support and everything else. So I was kind of like, why don't I just do it? And she's like, that's just not how it works, that. And I wasn't called to it, it wasn't for me. So that was hard because, a lot of times we want to take over responsibility for something. We want to try to make it ours. We want to try to do the hard work like that. Sometimes that seems like the easy thing to do. And to have to kind of set back and not know, and really don't know what's going on with a lot of the procedure and process. And I could have known, but I didn't. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't want to know. I was hoping it wouldn't come through. I didn't want, I didn't want that. It didn't mean I didn't support it. It means that I didn't want it. If I think anybody who's ever prayed for things, maybe prayed half-heartedly for God's will to be done. And I was definitely doing that from time to time. So in all honesty, like, it was a difficult thing to kind of try to be supportive, but also be worried and apprehensive and that sort of thing. So I think that was the hardest part. At one point, Aaron sort of explained to me more the call, more the God side of it. And that's when I sort of understood, like, yeah, I'm just kind of getting in the way of this by asking a lot of questions and not really being supportive. And my fear is getting in the way of this process. And so I just kind of actually stepped back for a little bit to sort of regroup and gather and just say, like, okay, I need to stop asking questions that she already has asked herself. These things aren't new to her. The way that she researched and knew and had the information, I hadn't done that. I wasn't as informed about it all. And so for me, a lot of the things that were, driving fear or worry were internal, but also, unknowing and it's difficult. We haven't been through a lot of health issues, and the few that we have, anything that's concerned her as far as health, it's really scary for me, just because of what we have in our life and who she is to our family unit. So that was difficult, and trying to support that and be there for that. It's a difficult thing, and throughout the process, different people check in with you and they ask you about that. They say, well, how's this and what's that? And I'm like, yeah, I will go. I will be there. I support her. My work situation is okay. I have, sick time that I can use to be there, be part of it, to be part of this process. Like, we could do this. But, it wasn't easy. It wasn't something where I felt like it was, easy to just get on board with, because it's scary. It doesn't mean that it has to be. It means that's what I like get in the way of, the process for me. But, looking back on it, I wish I would have acted differently. I wish I would have been, more supportive throughout the whole process. There's definitely times where I kind of think I got in the way of myself, and I got in the way of Erin and the good that she was trying to do. And I think the thing that really woke me up one day was I just said, okay, well, why you, like we got all this going on. She said, if not me now, then who when?
Mhm. Yeah. Wow.
So one of the things that you mentioned was, one of your fears was like the fear of the unknown. Erin,
Yeah.
she had all this information, she educated herself, and you made the decision, right, to kind of take that step back. Is that one of the things that you would change? Do you feel like if you had been armed with more information that it would have been easier for you? Or do you think, no, you made that choice because that's where you needed to not be in that realm?
Yeah. So my personality, I probably try to flee. I probably try to flee the difficult, from time to time. And so, I don't necessarily mean that. I mean, like the emotionally difficult. So the education part wouldn't have changed the emotional difficulty. I knew the percentages. I knew how safe it is. I knew how, um, routine of a major surgery this was, right? Like I don't think that's really it. It's just that there's still a chance. It's like there's still, you're putting yourself into a situation where, you don't know the outcome, and it is uncertain. But so is life. And I just, it's just hard to say that you willingly, wantingly put yourself into a situation that has the potential for some sort of negative outcome. That potential is so low that really I wish I wouldn't get hung up on any of that. But there's just a lot of unknown. And even with the data, it's still hard to get over the unknown sometimes. So I really feel for people who have sort of some of those fears, whether it's this thing or, some of the issues we've been dealing with this past year. When it's the fear of the unknown, it's really hard for people. And it was kind of hard for me. And it was more of a worry about what would happen with our kids and everything else. And maybe even feelings of inadequacy of being able to take care of all them on my own or something of that nature. And like I said, that possibility is so small, and it doesn't really happen. When you look at the numbers, we probably had a worse chance getting there and getting back as far as making it through it than making it through the surgery. So I don't want to dwell on that too much. It was a big component for me as far as what it was like to try to be supportive and the financial worries and all those sort of things. We could go through some of them, but the interesting thing was how because it was a faith-based action, I've seen it happen before in my life where when it is something that you're called to do, that those barriers just get removed, and they get replaced, and they get replaced with blessings. And so those barriers turn into blessings, not just the people, the financial. I know Erin talked a little bit about that, but she didn't expound on it too much. When she opened the fundraising page, which was a big deal for me, I was worried about how we're going to fund it. We had gone from 2 full-time incomes down to 1.5, and prior to that, and some other things, and I was a little bit worried financially. And she opened that fundraiser, and within days, it was fully funded. And so, every time there was a barrier like that, a timing issue, something with the kids, or worries about school or anything else, whenever there was a barrier, it didn't just get removed. It turned into a blessing to see who fell in line and helped out, and to see sort of how our normal nature of wanting to take care of ourselves and take care of our own was replaced with a feeling and sense of community that it just can't be replaced.
That's so cool. So, she goes and she starts getting all these testing and everything. You had to be involved in some of that testing, correct?
Well, I mean, as far as like, no, she did it all
you didn't have to go through any of the psychological stuff or anything with her.
A lot of it at the forefront is blood draws and matches, and it's very technical, very hard factual, and it's like you match or you don't. You have these certain antigens or you don't. Your blood type. I mean, just all the different stuff that they go through. And I know, and I'm really bad at all that. She knows exactly what that stuff is. But you go through all those tests, and basically it's sort of are you still a viable candidate? And so, for a lot of that, I was like, well, let's just hang back and see, and it's local blood draws, and they ship it off, and then they do an analysis, and then you wait, and then they send you something else because you're to the next level. It's a little bit more invasive, and then you ship it off, and then you wait, and then you keep thinking like, well, it made the next round, and then the next round, and then once you got to a certain point, I was like, well, Aaron, you're kind of a match. You're healthy. There's no reason they're going to say no now. Like, we really need to just start gearing up for this is going to happen. And I think even at that point, she was kind of like, well, there's still some things that could happen or whatever. And I just started getting sort of like this real heavy dose of reality that this is going to happen. And I'm not ready for that. So as far as the actual appointments and those things, they're really simple appointments. At some point, a social worker checked in with me, just wanted to know like, what was our family situation, and how does that work, and do we have a network, and do we have people who love and support us, and do I love and support Aaron? And of course, all those answers were yes. And I explained some of those barriers that turned into blessings, and we've had some just great folks in our life who have been really helpful with all of it. So yeah, but the actual hard appointments, I don't think I attended any of them because they weren't really, it's not like even a lot of the like doctor's appointments, like when you have a child or something, and there's, more physicality to the appointments or anything. It was just, I think it was mostly samples taken and sent off. And so there wasn't really a whole lot for me to do with that.
Right.
I think on the back end, there was a little bit of like, okay, this was a hard day. There's some, stress or tension here, and just how can I help, not make that worse, right? Or how can I help add to an environment that makes that calming, but not really anything with the actual doctor's appointments.
Yeah. And Jay, I appreciate, not much of a question, but I do appreciate you mentioning like the seen and unseen blessings that you receive just by taking that leap of faith. And I think a lot of people, needed to hear that part of the process.
Yeah, I mean, I had friends from my work network who came out and were like, this means a world to us. You never know, but our family has struggled with this, or, I can't believe what your family is doing. This is so amazing, and we want to help donate, or we want to do something for you guys, or how can we do anything? And to hear the stories and hear the people who are struggling, and then, it just kept bringing me back to, why she was doing what she was doing, because it really does take great people to do these things to make things right. And so it's really important. So anybody who's considering it, like I guess my 2 cents would be, it is scary, but you can do it. Not just for the person who's considering it, but for their family. Just try to consider that it's scary, and everybody reacts differently to that. And sometimes it's easier to internalize your own fear than other people's fear. And so I didn't really know even what I was afraid of until it was probably all done with. And in the hospital, for instance, it's a very it's a full invasive procedure. They put you completely out. You are not responsive. As you come back awake, and I kind of say come back alive. It's a miracle of modern technology of how they put you under and how they bring you back. But if you're the person observing that, it's really scary. So, that those fears didn't end when the surgery was over. It took probably a couple of days after before I was like, okay, she's back 100%, or will be. At that point she wasn't back 100%, but it was sort of like, you could see the kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. And, but for a little bit there, it's very scary. You're talking about, well, we need to make sure you walk so many steps so that you get blood flowing to your organs, and you can't do it yet. You can't even stand up yet. So it's just hard. It's a hard thing. If you haven't gone through medical procedures, it's probably more difficult. I haven't been around a lot of folks that close to being their number one support person in the hospital. And, I'm just glad that we had other people to help us out with it, because I hate hospitals. I don't like them. It's just not my thing. And I found that, it's easy to be supportive from a distance, but it's really hard to be that person who's right there. And luckily, we had some other folks, our neighbors, Abby and Jesse, who stepped up and were also there with us during the hospital stay, through the procedure, and then for a couple of days after. And that was just amazing. So lean into your network if you need that. Lean into your people. Lean into your relationships. You know, in some ways, it was great to be able to pull back and know that Abby was there for a little bit, or to lean into my buddy Jesse and be like, man, this is really hard. I can't really say these things because like I want to be supportive, but man, this is really scary. And then also be able to just open up and be honest about it in the moment. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, but I overwhelm myself with some of that, you know, some of that fear, some of that worry. But it's just what happened.
You had a great support system though, that was there,
Yeah.
you know, here, or, you know, here, because you live, you know, somewhere close to us, but you had support at home. And then you also had that support that went with you guys, because you guys traveled across the country. It wasn't like it was right next door and you'd go, you know, go home, check on the kids, come back. It was uproot yourself and Aaron, go cross country for this procedure with people who are unknown, and then have your kids still here at home. One question that I didn't get to ask Aaron, and I wish I did, and I'll have to ask her it someday. From your perspective, when you met Steve as Aaron's husband, you know, this whole process has been to help him to live a full life, to get back to flying, to, you know, just be healthy and off of dialysis. What was that moment like for you?
Yeah, that was awesome. You know, Steve's story is really cool, and he's a really awesome person. You know, one of the things I remember from mission trips going way back to my youth was, you know, we don't do things because people deserve it. We do it because they've asked and God's called us to do it. And so like, I try to take that perspective into it and just say like, the situation of, you know, who he is, it doesn't really matter as much as the fact that there's a need. And I really hope that people would, that's probably the number one mindset that really helped me through the process, was thinking that there's a need out there and Aaron's feeling compelled to fulfill that need. And so that, you know, getting to meet this person is really cool, but it's not really what it's about. And we didn't really have much interaction with him prior to the actual surgery. There was almost nothing. We did get to meet him at the hospital per Aaron's request and per Steve's granting that request, but it wasn't something that was guaranteed. Like we weren't even guaranteed that we would ever meet him. And we were okay with that. It's an interesting side fact. And I don't know if most people probably don't know that, but because of the confidentiality of the whole situation and how that all goes, they really respect the wishes of both the donor and the recipient. And so in this case, Aaron and Steve were both accepting to that. And Steve had a support network there. And of course, some of his support network was some of our support network, because Pastor PJ came for the surgery day. And so that was pretty cool. And we did get to have that a little bit before the surgery, but really, we got to know him more after the surgery. You know, that we were some days that we were there after. There was a couple days before, we did have like a lunch, and we had a couple of a lunch is a weird thing because nothing is on a time schedule when you're talking hospital, right? It's all at these weird times, and everything's earlier or later or super early. And then breakfast is actually at like, you feel like it's lunch, but it's really only breakfast for everyone else in the world, or vice versa. So, but yeah, I can't remember if it was a breakfast or a lunch, but we had a couple of meals together before. And of course, you know, they were already in sort of a fast mode and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting, but there's some great food in San Francisco, and we took advantage of that and shared some good meals together. But it was really cool to meet him. And you know, I love flying, and so that just intrigued me about him. And you know, he's a spirit of adventure, living in Hawaii, and he flies in Alaska and Hawaii. And you know, just kind of reminded me sort of my dad, and in some good and some other ways, and all kinds of things. And it was just one of those things where it kind of really humanized the whole effort. And that helped too, was just to know that not only was there a need, but was in need of a person who, you could feel connected to, and it did feel important. But that wasn't the reason, and that wasn't the purpose, but it was a nice barrier turned into a blessing, if you will.
Sounds like also, as the donor family, you guys received a lot of support from the medical team and the hospital team, which I don't think a lot of people are aware of. I think a lot of people think that all the focus goes on the recipient, not so much on the family that donates. So
you couldn't be any more right about that, Jay. We had some great folks over there at University of California, San Francisco. And actually, I remember gentleman Brady came out and he's just like at the top of his lungs. He's like, the amazing, wonderful, awesome Aaron Hoover, like they were just over the top because, even to them, a story like that is impactful because they do what they do every day because they want to make an impact on the world. But it takes really good individuals who do the right thing to actually make that happen for a lot of folks. I mean, a lot of people who end up with transplants, know the person or otherwise, and there are people who run out of luck on that. And in their direct network, there isn't a match, and they have these chains, and there's really long ways of people be able to donate for other people and to sort of extend that network. But there's not a lot of people who kind of are willing to donate to folks they don't know, or at least don't know well, or at least aren't getting something back for someone they know really well. And so the staff was just amazing with that. They were really helpful from, if we wanted them to arrange a ride or if we needed something else, they were always there to do it. And we had just been really blessed to have a lot of those things worked out, and we spent a lot of time planning those things, and Aaron's a planner by nature. And so, where we stayed and how we got to and from, and there's a lot of stories about all that stuff, and there's little tiny details in it that just make your head spin. And, and that's some of where I got to have some fun too, from trying to get a rental car and how that worked out and things like that, that people just from our hotel to the rental car agency to people at the hospital, everybody who heard the story, just they wanted to be part of it and they felt impacted by it. And and it just came out in what we were doing because it was so obvious, just because of what our schedule demanded and everything else, and certain things that we requested from the room and stuff like that. So it was really cool how it all kind of came together. But the staff at the hospital, they treated Erin like a rock star, and it's because she is, and she was. And it's important for people to know that, like, you don't do it for that, but it feels really good that everybody just does understand what you're doing and that it's important, and that without those folks that make that journey and decide to do that, that there's a lot of people who don't get to go on, and it doesn't work out for them. And so without these folks, it's just not the same. And I think one of the hard things for me was, you're talking about that before, like misconceptions. A lot of people think dialysis is okay, or like it's a lifestyle that you can, I know somebody's been on dialysis for a long time. It's like, yeah, but your quality of life isn't the same as having a healthy kidney. So even if you have dialysis, it doesn't mean that their life is the same as it would be without dialysis. And you have the option to bless life rather than just have life. And so, I think that was probably a misconception for me. I think people should know, support people who want to support people who do this process should know that gift, it's not just extending life, it's giving back fullness of life. So it's really important.
Absolutely. And that was going to be one of my questions for you. So thanks for beating me to the punch. And then, so, after this process, you guys are home, she's physically healed, you guys are healthy, where are you in this journey now?
So we're home, everything starts to get better. COVID hits, you can't take Advil. Oh, wait. It's little things, but it just seems like, they're just little things. It's not anything major. It's actually kind of been interesting how some of the things that we took for granted before, some of like my own health, it kind of kicked me in the butt and said, hey, yeah, I don't really need to be overweight. I don't need to kind of, I'm not, I need to up my game a little bit. I need to be more healthy. I need to be helping out around the house more. I need to be taking control of some things that I, probably let go or just felt like they didn't matter a whole lot. And it kind of gave us a new lease on life in some ways in that regard. And I think for Erin, like, it just kind of helped shift the mindset for her too about, our long-term health and how blessed we have been first, to not have endured a lot of things that many folks our age have endured already. So I think that was a really big deal. And, come a whole year and a half later, about a year and a half later now. I think it's been really a good thing for both of us. It's really helped me kind of work through what some of those situations are. Like, I feel like if we went through something medically now, I'd be much more prepared to actually be a supportive person and do the right thing. It's been a challenge, but I think in the last year and a half, we've definitely built better understanding about some of those things and about how we, what we need from each other and what our expectations are and how we communicate some of those things. Like, it's just forced a lot of some of those things to come to the forefront and be worked out and worked on. And that's been pretty good.
Awesome. Did you have any other questions today?
No, actually, I've just, again, it's just given me some great insight into a lot of things as far as like you said. I think being in the same boat, I'd be just as apprehensive, and because it's the fear of the unknown. And for you to be as honest and reflective with us today, I mean, I just really appreciate you coming on.
Well, Jay,
I think a lot of times people think of it just as, there's recipients and there's donors, but there's families of both those right. people. And I think that sometimes those can get almost lost. So we really appreciate that you were willing to talk to us today. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to say, I think it's really important for the recipients, family members too, to know like that there are a lot of folks going through some of what they're going through, like as a recipient's family member, you're just hopeful that everything's going to turn out okay, but you're still going through the process. There's still a major surgery that takes place, and there's still a lot that happens. And the donor actually tends to have a little bit harder time in recovery than the recipient, as far as the recipient is used to like having low kidney function and stuff like that. And so like Steve bounced pretty quick, and he was healthy in a hurry. We saw his color change, and that was amazing. So, but there's family members on both sides who are dealing with a lot. And so it was cool to have, we had some good interaction with some of Steve's family and some of his support network. And that was really fun too. So, yeah, I mean, I hope I didn't overly focus on the negative, because I definitely don't want to scare folks off. It seemed like that was a lot of like where the questioning went, and that's okay, because there was so many blessings in the meantime too that I wish we had more time to talk about, from how our kids saw what Erin was doing and were amazed and blessed, and how a little boy who may one day need a kidney sees hope.
Wow. And that's so, what you just said is so impactful. Like, yeah, I mean, just that he was able to see that and see, the kindness of people who just care, and to know that those people exist in the world. And I don't think you were overly negative at all. I think that, it's so important that people see all sides of this, because it's not all rainbows and sunshine. There is difficultness. And for spouses or mothers or fathers, people who are in your shoes, to know that you're still able to make it through, that there was those blessings that you can see. And I'm sure, hindsight being 2020, although I don't know if we're going to keep saying after last year, but
hindsight being 2021. Let's hope we have a little hindsight 21, right?
Right. So, but with that, I'm sure you're able to reflect and see, like, more of those blessings and how that was affecting. And my last question for you is going to be, if for anybody who's in your shoes, whose spouse or loved one feels called or compelled to donate, what do you want them to know from your perspective?
I think the most important thing to know is that you can do it. And no matter how hard it feels, no matter what those barriers are, that it's possible, and that the network is way bigger than you see around you. And so there's so many folks who are struggling with so many things that you just don't know because they don't share it. And when you find some of that out, then it's just so much easier to do the right thing and to go through with it and to see the blessings that come from it. And it doesn't mean it's easy. It just means that there's a lot of really good people out there who have gone through these things. And, I'm kind of the person who leverages into those stories to want to know how other people did what they did. And so, Aaron is a very facts-based person. I'm probably more of an emotional-based person. And so for me to hear those stories is really important. So if you're considering and you're an emotional-based person, reach out, ask those questions, talk to a friend who's gone through it, talk to the family members of the friend who's gone through it, whatever the situation is. I wish more people would, talk about those things and about what they're actually going through, and instead of just trying to shoulder it and bear it and muscle through it. And I think that if I could do it over again, that's what I would definitely do more of, is reach into the support network and talk to some folks who've really been there and done that, and then leverage into them to ask the questions that I've maybe felt uncomfortable asking anybody else. Because you might be okay to ask somebody who has been there something than asking somebody who you don't know if they can really relate. And so although people can relate to a lot of things in a lot of different ways, it's really good to find somebody who does know maybe where you've been at with that. It doesn't mean the situation is exactly the same, but it means that maybe that they could lend a listening ear without any sort of judgment. And if that person comes to you and maybe you haven't had that experience, just know that like hearing those concerns and kind of shouldering some of that is important to that person as well. So that was another interesting thing we didn't talk about either, but you're the support person for the person who's going through it, but you're also trying to support and talk to and love on other people who are equally as concerned as you are for the person who's going through it. And so some of those folks wouldn't tell Aaron some of the things that they were concerned about, but they were more than happy to tell me, which then I wasn't really okay with saying like, well, yeah, but I'm kind of scared about it too. So, so that was difficult, but I think it also helped me build some relationships with people in Aaron's direct network that I didn't maybe have before or weren't as close to. So again, those things kind of turned into blessings, and just be aware of that and know that people are going to ask you a lot of questions too. And so get involved, know as much as you can know, be as active as you can be in the process, support your loved one, care for them, and, step back when you need to step back, and then insert yourself again. Make sure you're right there and doing what you need to do when called upon.
It's awesome. So what I'd like to say in closing is just from what you told me, unexpectedly, you were actually an anchor for some other people who might not felt as, who were kind of a little bit shaky about the whole thing. I found that to be really ironic, but, whether we realize it or not, we're just part of a bigger community now, right? Mm-hmm. Of support, a support system, awareness. And we can provide that now because, like you said, we have that experience in common. I think people make, like you said, you have a new, you almost have like another family member now in Dave. So that's Steve. Sorry, excellent. That's that. So, but it's just an excellent point that you made. And I also want to ask you in closing, what misconceptions, she likes to ask this question, but what misconceptions or falsehoods would you like to clear up that people may have about the whole process of organ donation?
Yeah, I think one of the big misconceptions is about the long-term health effects. I think, on the kidney donation side, I think there's a lot of fear that, maybe there's some long-term health effects that could be associated with donation. And I listen to the medical professionals who are helping you through that process. And that's the best thing I can say about that is there's things that are outliers and chances, but such is life. It's not as overwhelming as you might think. And really with one really healthy kidney that increases in size to compensate, which I wish somebody, and probably somebody did tell me early on, but I wasn't listening. That the kidney that you retain actually takes over and enlarges and takes over function and increases in fullness to be able to support the function of your kidney that's been lost. And that's just a huge, amazing blessing in the way that we are designed. And so I just think that that's something that's really cool as far as a misconception that a lot of folks maybe carry about it. And then the other one was that dialysis is okay. Dialysis is not okay. It's not a lifestyle. It prolongs life, but it is not a lifestyle. It's not a lifestyle that, is acceptable to most people. And if you really look at what it is to be on dialysis daily or every other day or whatever else, it's not a lifestyle that people want. And there's only there's only two ways you get off dialysis, and only one of them increases life. So
That's true.
That's probably the misconception that I would want to make sure that everybody who watches anything about kidney donation hears, is that really there's only one way off of dialysis that's alive, and that's donation. And it takes good people doing the right thing.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jay, for joining us today. It's been amazing to hear your side of the story and to hear your perspective and where you're coming from with all of this, which can include fear and joy and blessings and everything in between. So everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. And thanks for joining us today.
Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss our next guest.
We need your help to spread support and awareness for organ transplant donation.
Please share this video and channel with your friends.
Tell someone something that you learned or heard from today's guest.
Get in touch with us if you'd like to join us as a guest.
See you next time.
Peace.